Hi, in this video we will take a look at proofs with Modus Ponens. Hi, this is Logic Self-Taught with Dr. Phi. In this video we are going to take a look at some proofs with Modus Ponens. We will show 3 arguments to be valid. It's a good idea for you to try to do the proofs yourselves. If you have problems, keep watching. A recap of the rules we've covered. Simplification allows us to deconstruct a conjunction. The conjunction rule allows us to construct a conjunction. We've learned a third rule, Modus Ponens. The rule requires 2 propositions on their own lines, a conditional and a proposition that matches the antecedent of that conditional. If we can match the antecedent in this way, we can detach the consequent. We look at where we could get not C from. Not C is part of a conjunction that is part of the proposition in line 2. To get not C, you certainly need to derive the conjunction. The conjunction is a consequent of a conditional in line 2. We now have learned about a rule that allows us to detach the consequent of a conditional, Modus Ponens, provided that we have the antecedent. Here the antecedent is B. How can we get B? Well, B is the second conjunct in line 1. We can just apply simplification and are ready to go. We apply simplification to line 1 and get B. Now that we have B, we can match the antecedent of the conditional in line 2 and detach the consequent. And given the thus derived conjunction, what remains is the application of the simplification rule to get not C. We wanted not C, we got it. That's it. Here's another example. It might look more complicated because we are given a conditional that contains a conditional as a component, but don't worry, we apply the same procedure. We think about how to get the conclusion. We look where we could get A from, and we see that we could get it from line 1, but it's hidden, so we would first somehow have to get the consequent if B then A out, and then we can think of applying Modus Ponens, provided that we can get B. If B then A is itself a consequent of a conditional in line 1, we could derive it if we could match the antecedent C. And of course, if you look carefully at premise 2, it contains just what we need. It contains B and C. We can just apply simplification to get those on their own lines. We are ready to go. We first apply simplification to line 2 to obtain B and to obtain C. And now we need if B then A. We have the antecedent in line 4. We can apply Modus Ponens. We can detach the consequent. We can now get A. We got the conditional if B then A in line 5. We've got its antecedent B in line 3. We can apply Modus Ponens again to derive A. This is what we wanted to do. We are done. You might have had some problems with this proof. Why? Well, all you have are conditionals. If you've trained your eyes sufficiently well, you'll see that actually premise 3, the conditional in premise 3, matches the antecedent of the conditional in premise 1. So this is an opportunity for you to apply Modus Ponens, right? And it is this kind of pattern seeing that is important to develop in learning to do proofs. This is why doing the exercises ad nauseum sometimes is important, because you then are able to see such patterns. But actually here, you could probably do away without this Gestalt vision. Let's try to work the way that we have worked so far. Well, the conclusion is B. If we look at the premises, B occurs in 2 places, in premise 1 and in premise 3. If you look carefully at premise 1, it should dawn on you that this is a hopeless premise as far as getting B from it. Why? Well, because not only is B within the parentheses, but more importantly, the parentheses is in the antecedent of a conditional. We don't know a rule that allows us to derive the antecedent of a conditional. In premise 3, on the other hand, B occurs in the consequent of a conditional. It's good to try to get B from premise 3. In order to do that, we would have to match the antecedent of that conditional, D. Right? So this becomes our intermediate goal. So now the question is, how do we get D? And again, if we look through the premises, we will see that D occurs in 3 of them, but only one of them is viable. That's premise 2, because there D occurs in the consequent of the conditional. In all the other cases, D occurs in the antecedent. Let's try to get D from premise 2, but in order to get it, we would need to get C. C occurs in 2 places, in premise 1, premise 2. In premise 2, it's the antecedent of the conditional, so that's a hopeless case. But we could try to get it from premise 1, provided that we match the antecedent of premise 1. That would mean that we would need if D, then B on its own line. Now, when you look carefully at your premises, you'll actually see if D, then B on its own line in premise 3. So we are ready to go. We match the antecedent of the conditional in line 1, and we can then detach the consequent. We can get C. We match the antecedent of the conditional in line 2, and we can detach D. And now what remains is the final step. We can get B, we can detach it, because we can match the antecedent of the conditional in line 3, and this will allow us to apply Modus Ponens one final time. That's it. This is Logic Self-Taught. It's exercise time. Do all the exercises until they feel like a breeze.